Hello, everyone.
Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday. Happy Roundup Day. And look we've got a party happening here.
Yay.
Yay. So welcome back, Betsy, from your
Thank
world
you.
travels. It's so
Great
nice
to
to
be
have you back. Speaking of world travels, our other regular co-host, Vicki, is traveling, and she's going to be doing a WikiTree presentation. And I think that's this weekend. Yeah, I think the presentation's in Wales, if I remember correctly.
For the Mensa organization, is that right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I think is with her Mensa organization.
Yeah.
And then eventually she will head over to Ireland, and I think she's going to meet up with at least one of our renowned WikiTreeers.
Very cool.
So very cool. Special guest also. Here we go.
You mentioned Ireland. We got to mention Irish John.
Yeah, Ron Floyd, our WikiTreeer of the week, is here. Hi there, Ron. Welcome.
Thank you.
And Sandy is joining us again. This is a real treat for me because Sandy is almost always on when I'm not on. So I hardly ever get to live cast with you, Sandy. So
I know, but I think we still hold the record of the roundup, right? It was Doctor Who. I will never forget. I know nothing about Doctor Who, but it was a blast.
That was great. That's great.
And I did
very
bring my
excited
biscuit. My biscuit is literally as big as my hand. So if you see me eating, sorry.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah. And in other exciting news, we have Denise and Vicki. Denise is joining us again, and it's official. Denise is now officially a member of the Roundup and will be here all the time.
Yay.
Yay! So we're very excited to have you, Denise.
Thank you.
We loved you so much in July. I just couldn't say no. I just couldn't give you up. So
I have that effect on people.
That's great. Oh, that's great. Should we say hi to people in the chat?
Sure. How many do we have today? 16. Okay. They're going to be trickling in, I know.
Yeah, Anne Fiordalisi was our first one to join in. Her first question was, how was your vacation? Betsy's.
Oh,
yeah.
It was just pleasure.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, thanks.
And then Amanda joined in, and she was saying, I think it was Amanda said it was 11 degrees in Melbourne, which is exactly the temperature it was, 11 degrees Celsius, which was exactly the temperature it was when Finnegan and I went for our morning walk. So it's a little chilly. It feels more like summer morning.
Wow.
Dee has joined us. Dee Spencer Carr. Tia is here. And Christopher Yolo. Hey. How you doing? John Tyner from Ireland. Scrolling. Let's see. Susie Carta. Nice to see you, Susie. Patricia Rye, cousin. How you doing? Chris Wine. Terry Burks. Mark Lehman. And I'm not sure, did I miss anyone else? Joy Trevino from Texas is here also. And Moho Havlan Jester is here. And there we go. I think that's everyone who said hi so far, and others will come in. And of course, anyone who's watching after the fact, welcome to you as well. Thanks for watching us. So, Betsy, let's put you back to work after a month off.
I all of a sudden asked, oh my gosh, do I still remember how to screen share? All right, let's see.
If I can interrupt a moment to comment on your 11 degrees Celsius.
Yes.
It's a little chilly here this morning. It's 83 degrees. Which was better than what we had Thursday, which was 103 degrees.
So, Ron, where are you?
I'm in Arkansas, right on the Arkansas-Oklahoma border, and by the river. But we've been under a heat wave this past week, and 4 days over 100. So out exercising or doing something has not been an easy trick. But when you say 11 degrees Celsius is a little chilly, all I have to say is 83 degrees Fahrenheit was a little chilly for us. Everything's relative, right?
Everything's relative.
Absolutely. All right. Have I done it? Have I been successful?
You have.
You are.
Okay, good. So our question of the week and our theme is Southern United States roots, and so we're going to be our profiles are going to be centered around that. And we've got Sandy with us today. She's going to talk about the Southern Colonies Project, and of course Ron is here. So it's going to be a fun morning, and I loved the way Ginny Fields answered the question, do I have Southern roots? Why, I do have Southern roots. So let's see. Let's go.
If I can interject
Yes.
a comment on the Southern Colony,
Mhm.
I posted on there their logo that shows the dogwood and the alligator.
Oh, yes, I saw your post. Yeah, could you talk about that a little more?
Well, the Southern Colonies, you have to understand, we're on the west side of the Mississippi,
Okay.
and the people in Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana might take a look at that, because we would like to be on the logo as well. The logo only includes the southern states that come up to the Mississippi, and so just a hint: we can include ourselves as Southerners. You can believe me.
Well, hold that thought, Ron.
Okay.
I might have good news for you.
Okay.
Ooh.
I think we have the person who can make that change in the room.
Yeah.
Excellent. Let's see, Lynn. I noticed that there were people who were commenting as sort of themes going throughout all the answers. There were 64 answers, by the way, where people were talking about how their research, their family history research had, and especially on WikiTree, had changed their conception of their ancestry. And so like Lynn said, growing up, I thought I was Northern to my core, lived in the North and descended only from people who lived around the North Sea. So I was surprised to find Appalachian and Southern roots on my tree.
I can make anybody Appalachian.
Yeah, I've seen it happen multiple times. Lynn says she has a second great grandmother from Kentucky, along with her parents and grandparents. And before that, and marrying into that line, were Virginians. Sparser, but all around the tree are Marylanders, a couple of South Carolinians, and many more Virginians. I'm kind of shocked because I didn't realize how many there were until this question was posed. So,
Okay.
and let's see. Donna Lancaster said, oh, wait a minute. No. Did I skip Donna's? Yes, there's Donna's. She says, yes, definitely. Back to the early 1700s, immigrated to the Carolinas and Virginia, made their way west to Mississippi, where my parents were from, and on to Georgia, Tennessee, Louisiana, and Texas. Her brothers were born there, and Donna is the lone Midwesterner, born and raised Yankee. I thought that was that's an unusual distinction. Yeah. Alexis Nelson gave us this gorgeous photo. This is 14-year-old Laura McCullough. She was born in New Orleans in 1856, and her mother had emigrated from Ireland to New Orleans during the potato famine. Her father worked as a shipwright in Baton Rouge in New Orleans. This was a position that he kept for over 19 years, and she was 14. And just so many details. I mean, someone was commenting on her gingham, the fabric of her dress. She's got a little book there. And I assume this is at a photo studio, but very special.
Probably.
Yeah.
What's interesting are her shoes too, because if you notice, a lot of the old time photos, everybody will have a clean face, Sometimes clean hands, not always clean hands. The men who come in from field, but definitely clean face, comb their hair, and in their Sunday best, but their boots or their shoes always give them away. So she has very clean boots and shoes.
Yeah.
So this would be really indicative to me to Louisiana as well, because they're more around water as opposed to maybe on a farm where their boots would be muddy and dirty.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And Alexis's post actually sparked a big sort of side conversation about accents. And that was very interesting. I think the Southern accent is beautiful. And Pip Shepherd was saying that he has such a strong accent that it even surprises him when he hears a recording of himself. And I thought that was really funny because I'm constantly like Discord chatting with Pip and emails, and so I never hear an accent. And now I'm going to have to rewire all my Pip communications so that it plays and it's with a drawl.
And we Southerners, that's Puppy. We Southerners, we can tell what general area or state you're from by your accent.
Yeah. That's interesting. But I can imagine that, you would fine tune it. And then along that side conversation, Kate Gibbons was saying that she went to a fancy prep school when she was young, and the headmistress said, "Well, we're gonna change that. We're gonna get rid of that accent." And she said her father was on the phone, quick as lightning, to say, "No, you will not." And then good for him.
Yeah.
Then let's see. We have one more on this page. Let me find it. There we go. Mark Trotman said, "I have many Southern ancestors on my father's side, from Southwest Georgia, Northeast North Carolina, South Carolina, Kentucky, and Southwest Virginia. And one of them is said to have built the first log cabin in Kentucky, just south of Fort Boonesborough." That's a really cool family distinction. And he adds, "I love grits, bread pudding, and Brunswick stew in honor of all of them and my Southern heritage." What is Brunswick stew?
I was going to ask that too.
Yeah.
Brunswick stew comes from the Georgia coast of Brunswick, Georgia, where they would basically take rabbit and maybe goat. It was not beef. You had corn, small potatoes. It's an takeoff on the Irish Shepherd or Scottish Shepherd pies, but it was a stew, and it was served with the barbecue that was done. You may barbecue a hog, which they buried in the ground, and they cooked the stew up along with it, and it had the name Brunswick stew. It has very different taste, but it's excellent. I mean, you really have to put it on some cornbread to get the full effect, but that came from out of the Scottish and Irish, the Celtic people that came into South Carolina and Georgia.
Huh. Oh, that's interesting. Ah.
But basically, it was my kids today when I had children at home growing up, they called it Tupperware soup. That's when I opened the refrigerator, and anything that was in Tupperware we put in the pot.
Oh, wow. One of those flexible recipes. I like it.
Yes.
Yeah. Excellent.
One that you didn't use a measuring cup for, or
seasoned with love.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for explaining that. And then let's see, Jim Stevenson. I just thought that this was a really fascinating geographic journey.
Mhm.
His third great grandfather was born about 1758 in Charleston, served in the American Revolution in the 4th South Carolina Continental Regiment. He was defending Charleston when the British lay siege to the city in the spring of 1780. He was captured when the city fell to the British and was held in very horrific conditions in a prison ship in the harbor. And then he was recruited or possibly forced into a British regiment. And the recruits were promised they would not fight against their fellow countrymen. They were then taken to Jamaica to fight against the Spanish. And while in Jamaica, John was injured, possibly in the leg. He was then taken to Chelsea Hospital in London to recover, and finally emigrated to Upper Canada near Niagara Falls, where he lived out his life as a shoemaker. So that would be a very tricky story to put together through the records. I suppose Curlin is it's got some uniqueness to it, but you got to make sure you got the right John Curlin in all these places. I would be a little bit skeptical, but wow. And then in terms of migration patterns, I thought Bill, well, first of all, this was a post, the answer was from Corey Newton, and then Bill replied to that. So let's look at Corey's answer first. He has families in Kansas, and that was just 2 families, both of which migrated eventually to the Northwest. He did a map, sounds like on WikiTree Plus, and he said, it's actually bizarre how north my family is. I wonder if this is common. Do people of the North stay north and Southerners stay south? And so Bill wrote, first of all, about the Mason-Dixon line, and he says, there are exceptions, but the Mason-Dixon line between slave and non-slave states is a real dividing line. He's an officer in 2 different surname societies, and generally sees that families that settle initially north of the Mason-Dixon line stay north, and vice versa. So at least through the end of and this is true at least through the end of the Civil War. For Southerners, the usual migration pattern, again, this is a generalization, is to begin in Virginia, travel south to the Carolinas and Georgia during or after the Revolutionary War, and then start west through Alabama and Mississippi, ending in Texas after the Civil War. Some families add Florida and or Louisiana into their path, and some families stay in one or more of the mentioned southern states, but the usual migration path for Southerners is south then west. So, that's helpful.
Yeah, I would kind of add to that the Great Southern Migration was after the Civil War, when the slaves ventured north and west, but also the Hillbilly Highway. We did not venture west as much. We ventured north to like the auto areas and even just south of Canada.
Well, if you look at some of the patterns, I'll give you an example on the Floyds. The Floyds came in 3 primary areas in the United States. You had the group that came to Virginia, that was first, and then the group to New York, and then the group to Charleston, South Carolina. Those were the 3 main entry points. And then a lot of the Virginia and Northern came down what was called the Great Wagon Road, down through the Appalachians into Winston-Salem, North Carolina, the Quakers and Moravians and different sides. And then from there out, as you said, mine came in from Wales into South Carolina, went up to North Carolina, the edge of Tennessee, Mississippi, out to Arkansas on it. So those patterns are the same, but we had 3 primary points. the Ford that was the signer of the Declaration of Independence, they came into New York side, and then you had the group from Virginia and the group from South Carolina. So it was something that started before the Civil War and continued on, and due to a lot of the destruction of property and things in Virginia, where most of the fighting was done, or Georgia, a lot of the families lost everything they had, and they packed up and moved west off of it to what we might call, I guess, greener pastures. But an example would be my great grandfather, William Harrison Henry Ray, was in Virginia, and there he was in the 1st Virginia Cavalry. Well, after the war, their homestead and lands were completely destroyed. He and two of his brothers, they were part Choctaw Indian, decided to move out and homestead land, and they could get free land in Oklahoma in Indian Territory. But once they got to Arkansas allowed all Confederate veterans to homestead as well. So my great-grandfather stayed in Arkansas. The other two went over into Oklahoma, and that was part of the draw of coming west, was the ability, the states allowing Confederate veterans especially to receive grants and stuff, which was not a popular thing right after the war in the more northern parts because of the Civil War. But this side of it, that really was not the case, and it's kind of an example would be carrying on up. I grew up celebrating Confederate Memorial Day, which was in the last week in April. It was after I came of age that we moved to one Memorial Day in May that we have now, but that carried on for several generations, and so you kind of have to look at three things. One, where they arrived or left from in the Scottish, Irish, English, Wales area, and then where they came into the United States. Most of the stuff shipped out of England from the same port, so you have to get the manifest and find out they were there, and it would show that that's where they're from, when in fact that was basically where they were able to start their migration. That's not necessarily where they were from, but if you look at that and follow the patterns, and you will see that that great wagon road went all the way to Pennsylvania, and brought the different families down to the south, and then the legal ramifications like being able to homestead land or others, all that was a draw and brought the family west. That wasn't things that they felt. It was offered going north. And again, the bitterness over the war and stuff had a lot to do with that. But you have to look at three things, I think. One, where they originated from in the British Isles, primarily. Two, what their religion was. Were they Anglican, Moravian, or they have the French side? Did they have the Protestant, Catholic? And that kept families together. And then where they married or intermarried, some would intermarry with the natives, the Cherokees and Choctaws. Others would not. So it takes a little bit of work, but it's things all. I think people look for one factor when in effect, there's several factors that have to be considered.
If I may interrupt just one quick before the chat gets too far behind, since we are talking about the migration as well.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to thank somebody for correcting me. You are correct. I said the Great Southern Migration was slaves, it's former slaves. And you're correct. My apologies for that, because it started about 1910 that it did that. So in the South, we travel a lot. We come in and we travel a lot, but we always say, by the grace of sweet tea, some of us get to stay.
Yeah, bless your heart, hush your mouth.
I think I'll wrap up here on this segment. Just to say in conclusion, I also noticed throughout all the over 60 answers, there were a lot of cousin connections being noted, as people were talking about, oh, I'm from this line, someone would pipe in and say, me too. I thought that was really cool. And, some people talked about their brick wall and ancestors. So have a read, pour some sweet tea or get a biscuit. Or both. Yeah. So, am I turning it over to Sandy now?
Sandy, I think.
I will real quickly. We had a Discord party. Let me bring up my window here. We had a Discord party this week on the Southern Colonies and the Southern Pioneers Project. The Southern Pioneers Project is the project of the week as well. But I just very briefly wanted to just mention both of these, since we did have the Discord party, and they're very different than each other. And that was my main point that I wanted to mention, that the Southern Colonies Project ends on July 4th, 1776. And there's a list of colonies that we have. Let me bring up the colonial teams real quick. So, we have the province of Maryland, the colony of Virginia, which that's what we call it. We do not call it Virginia, British colonial Virginia or anything like that. We tend not to use the word British anywhere in our genealogy on WikiTree for the colony of Virginia. So that's something else. The Jamestown team, the Carolina team. Did you know that the province of North Carolina and South Carolina, they were not that at first? They were just Carolina. And then, of course, the province of Georgia team. And the one thing I want to mention about Southern Colonies is it's a really, really great team for, as Betsy mentioned, brick walls. It's a really great team if you have brick walls, because you almost always will with Southern Colonies, unless they are super duper famous. But it's a fascinating research for your ancestors. You're almost always going to have to dig in other places. Ancestry is not going to hand feed you these sources for these individuals. These are very deep research, going to archives online or in person. But the team and all the project leaders with Darlene and Scott are so great about helping you if you have questions. Ron mentioned passengers, and we have passenger lists, so many passenger lists that we document as well, so we can try to do cousin bait and bring in other people's brick walls and bring them in. So I just want to point out that the Southern Colonies, you do need to be pre-1700 certified quiz. It ends at July 4th, 1776. It was just kind of a handy end date for us on that project. And if you're doing work on your Southern Colonies, the sources are going to take you a little bit longer. This isn't something like searching somebody for 1990 where the sources are an ancestor and pretty easy, but it's so worthy and they're so fun. And you get to read these really old documents. And also, we can't talk about the U.S. Southern Colonies Project without also mentioning Denise's project with the USBH, because there are so many plantations here. And USBH, I know that I've created profiles and not known that they were slaveholders, and USBH came in and really helped me bring in the counts in the proper format that you need to document the slaves because most of them didn't have names, right, Denise? It was really,
That's correct.
it's a challenge. But if we have the plantation owner and where they were at, hopefully it's a start.
Mhm.
And then the other one I want to mention is the U.S. Pioneers Project. So many people have no clue what this project is about because the scope was, hey, we deal with southern states. We don't really do anything in there other than southern states. So out with the Discord party, those that attended, we worked it out. So what the U.S. Southern Pioneers will do from July 4th forward is where they come into play, but we end at statehood because at that point, there's a couple projects that should take over. Either the individual state should take over. So I'll just say Georgia. So Georgia became admitted into the states is January 2nd, 1788. So between 1776 and 1788, that's kind of where the U.S. Southern Pioneers is for Georgia. This is the best way we could define this project. It really is part of Western Ho, Appalachia, the individual states, and Southern colonies. So it's a confusing little project, but it's a small project and it's a lot of fun for those who want to dig in. If you have any questions at all, the project link I'll drop here. Just reach out to me. I would love to talk to you more about it because everybody has a specific question about it, and I will bring up the one that came up the most was Louisiana. We had the Louisiana Purchase, which was quite large, but that really is Western Ho project. But it's not admitted to the state until later, even though we had the Louisiana Purchase about, I think it was 1806, if memory serves me right, but they were admitted in 1812. So there's a little gray area there, and guess what? That's where Southern Pioneers picks up in between. And you do notice Arkansas is part of our project. Main thing I wanted to tell people though about this project, just real quick, is have fun with it. It just have fun with it. We're a fun group. We're not one of the strict groups that if you accidentally put a sticker on somebody after the state of was admitted, we're not gonna have a heart attack or anything. We'll just say, hey, were they a pioneer? If they're driving a car in the U.S. Southern area, they probably were not a pioneer. They probably were not a pioneer. But if they have a real struggle, they're a pioneer. And the other thing I want to mention is we had over 2,000 profiles managed by this project. This project had been kind of defunct for many, many, many years, and people were putting on the project box instead of the sticker. So if you come across a project box profile of your ancestor, somebody you want to work on U.S. Southern Pioneers, please reach out to me because chances are the box is wrong. It should have a sticker, and I want to remove us from that because I want you to work on your ancestors. That's who should be working on the people. So we're slowly getting through. We are down to 1,800. There's only a team of 3 of us doing this, and we're down to 1,800. Alesh is going to help us remove 500 in the next week or so. Nice. But it's a slow process. So if you do come across a Southern Pioneer profile that is managed by this project, please reach out to me. I would love to make you co-manager or full manager. And that's about it. And this is the project of the week.
Awesome.
Cool.
There you go.
Neat. While you've got the talking stick, do you want to talk about the profile makeovers?
I can. I didn't know there was a stick, though. I'm all excited.
Well,
wait a second. This is like a crown.
The crown, or the talking crown, or whatever.
So I am here mostly, you would think because I'm Southern, but mostly because Vicki had invited me to take over for her with this. She does Midnight Madness hangouts like this, and she knows every midnight hangout, I always talk about memories. Memories is one of my favorite things on WikiTree because it's special, it's unique, it's personal to us and to our ancestors. So guess what? She made the theme this month will be memories. So we have two to get through. Before we talk about that real quick, we have two updates, and these are related to beetles. And can I go ahead and admit now that I was never really a beetle fan?
That's all right.
Shame.
Throw the biscuits at my head now. So
Maybe-
I feel like
maybe, Maybe part of that is being Southern. I was country when country wasn't cool. I graduated in 65 from high school, and of course that was the start of the Beetle area. But kind of took us a little longer.
A little more time. Well, we have two profiles that we want to talk about that are something to do with beetles, and this one should be kind of obvious. Claude Harrison Butler, and this comes from our dear Lynn Young. Sorry, Lynn Young, and Lynn also does connection checkers every week. And there's not a before on this, and I could show you the changes to show you all the work she's done, but I think it's better. Let's just show you the photos. Aren't the photos great? There are 19 photos on this profile.
Wow.
I won't show you all of them, but she's really done a great job of documenting, putting up the census records for that particular family, going through and tracing them throughout time, the 1910, 1920, 1930, 1940. Here's their marriage application. And then also a close-up picture so we can get the profile picture, a very lovely background graphic of farming. Instantly that this person was a farmer and his family. So a lot of great information here that she's added. It's really cute too. And I mean cute in a nice way of how the little icons, so they point out the 4 older siblings in the home. Detailed. Now we talk about this a lot. You can just put in information of saying, okay, in 1890, he was in the census and that's that. But she adds in a little bit more information, probably pulled from Wikipedia, I'm going to guess, about the area in that time frame. So that gives a little bit more information talking about urbanization and immigration. And of course, industrialization was really big at that time as well. So this is a way to build a bio, to really come out and build a bio. So this is a really, really great job. And she talks about, between the two censuses, they moved. And this gives a little bit of information on the town, and this will go straight to Wikipedia. So just add a little link. Now, why do I even mention this? Why do I mention the links? Again, we're going to talk about the Ambassadors Project and link builders, because when you're linking over, you're sending people over to a different site. And then if you're on the other site, not so easy with Wikipedia, but it is with Family Search and Find a Grave and IMDb and things like that, put the link of the WikiTree profile over on the other site. So they'll come back and see us too. Great job. This really shows like all the tricks that we love to see for bio builders. Really, really great job. And this was not something she did overnight. As you can see,
I bet
she worked on it quite a lot. And I like this one. Tried something different for key points.
I love it when they put comments like that.
Yeah, and then I love this. Try
like.
one more time. I love this because this is what we're thinking, right? As we're redoing things and moving things around, we're like, let me see if this works, and reworking links to comply with the new standards, things like that. This is just fantastic. But no, she's done quite a bit of work on this. And then the next profile, moving right along, someone mentioned the SEC earlier in chat. So we have Paul William Bryant, and Paul for being a beetle. I think, I will say that I think if you say just Paul out in the real world, most people will think of one of the Beatles first, as opposed to maybe Pope Paul or something like that.
Yeah, that's right.
So this Paul William Bryant, quite well known. Oh, that's my son's dog. My son is home. Okay, sorry about that, guys.
No problem.
So Paul William Bryant, Bear Bryant, as we know him well, is definitely considered one of the greatest college football coaches of all time. There's just hands down. There's no other way to say it. And I feel a little guilty as we talk about the Alabama football team and the Crimson Tide. So forgive me for all the you Alabama fans as I just discreetly bring in War Eagle. Okay. Now as we move on, Paul grew up in Arkansas. Lovely pictures as we're going through. This comes from Chris Wine, and I will tell you, Chris Wine and I are distant cousins. She comes from West Virginia as well. And really great documentation, how he got his name, a bear. He wrestles a bear. She gave a lot of detailed information, a lot of sources. Here's his picture as a football player. This is a good example of extra headings. So putting in the different headings makes it easier to find information, but also Google likes extra headings too. So that's something else. And then this, I love the way that she put the census information all together. So if you are a researcher, you can go straight to the census instead of looking up top for the narrative. You can find everything there. And it's kind of cool to see this. So he was, in Arkansas, and he was a clerk, and he was single, and he was not living with family. And that's very easy to point out when you're looking at it this way versus it as a narrative. Above.
I like also the different colors to the headings.
Yeah,
that makes it pop.
I do too. I really like that.
Nice, yeah.
I really like that and how she shows. And then the one thing that I tend to always use, but everybody always scrolls, are these little arrows jump to the top.
I love those arrows now. Yeah.
I know, I love them. I love them.
So
instead of scrolling.
Thank you for doing that. That's one of the profiles of the week. So now I only have to do 11 of them. But you notice the hat he's wearing?
Yes.
My dad has the exact same hat, so I thought I would go get it.
Oh, fun. Twinsies.
Yeah. Though my head's a little bit bigger than my dad's, so it doesn't quite fit me as well. Very cool. Okay. Now that was the Beatles ones, but we're going to talk about memories in a sec. I think we will. Sandy just had to.
Right. So we're only on August 2nd. So I guess everybody can start thinking about profiles where memories are a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Sandy,
we can't hear you.
You're muted. You're muted, Sandy.
We can't hear you.
My son just came home, and his dog is like, "Oh, my dad's home." My house. So I'm so sorry about that.
No problem.
Memories, just real quick. That is what Vicki picked for memories to give on the profiles, as well as the full profile makeover completeness. So my question to you guys in the studio: have you used memories on a profile?
I did, and it actually was not for somebody I knew. It was for my great grandmother, who grew up and lived her life in South Gloucestershire, and I was able to make a research trip and spend time in her tiny, tiny little town and take pictures. And so I wrote in the memory section about that trip and how meaningful it was for me.
That's still on my to-do, Sandy. I'm sorry.
That's all right, because I think that sometimes they're so personal that it takes a moment to really think about what you want to do with it. And I will say that I try to write memories sooner than later when they pop in my head, because sometimes I will write like little notes, but I'll lose a lot of it. For everybody that doesn't know, so if you go to a profile and somebody who has passed on, a profile is after sources and before the comments.
Okay.
And then you can write in the memories. And this one just happens to be be a memory of my brother. And you can write many. You're not limited to one, because if a favorite grandparent, we probably have many, or your parent or something like that. This happens to be my brother. So I just wrote in one that I remembered, and it's kind of wordy. The one profile that I saw that somebody wrote a memory in that they were never related to was a coal miner memory. And someone that I believe it was his father had passed away in a coal mine disaster, but he wrote on the profile of one of his father's friends that he did not go to the coal mine that day because he had the flu. So we would have never known that. That's something we would have never, ever known. But the WikiTree wrote about that in a memory. And the reason why I like that is sometimes we get lost in the narrative. Sometimes we get lost in the sources. But if you put that out in the particular memory section, it's a different color. It's highlighted. And for researchers, that was amazing because he was there. He lived in the coal town. We saw he was a worker, but we never really knew why he survived when no one else did in the coal town, none of the other coal miners. And that's why he was sick.
Wow.
So think about that as you do the profiles makeover. I still like calling them Dash of Love. And why did we call it Betsy?
I'm sorry. Why?
Dash of Love. We called it Dash of Love.
Yeah.
Because the saying is fill in the dash. Like a lot of times people know the birth year and the death year. Well, fill in that dash.
What's
give
that?
the dash of love.
I like that. That's nice.
Yeah.
And thanks, Vicki, for picking the memories.
Yeah. That'll be
Excellent
fun.
choice. Great. Denise, do you want to introduce or reintroduce him, because Ron's been part of our whole discussion already, but
exactly. I was going to say, Mr. Floyd is a man who needs no introduction. He's been a part of the discussion from the very beginning. So
that's not true. And excuse my interruptions. I maybe tend to do that too often.
Not at all.
That's okay, because we appreciate your knowledge. We appreciate your experience. You've been a WikiTreeer since 2016, I believe.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So you've obtained a wealth of knowledge even before that, and you like to share it on WikiTree. According to your profile, your specialty is military and war. So tell us a little bit about how you got interested in that particular topic.
Well, I have a large number of relatives who have been in any number of wars and stuff. But growing up, my father was on Iwo Jima with the Marines and wounded there, came back and married my mother. And so when I was born in 1947, it was in a military family. And so he was in for 24 years. When I was 18, after a year of college, I enlisted in the Marine Corps. But just to give you an idea, my father-in-law was a Marine on Iwo Jima, wounded. My father was a Marine on Iwo Jima, wounded. I was in, my oldest son, my youngest son, my younger brother, all Marines. And so this was just a part of my life. I can still remember when I started kindergarten, my father had me bring out all my clothes, lay them on a blanket under a tree, and he came out and checked them to make sure that they were suitable for me to go to school in. He would check things. You didn't wear something that was torn at the knee or cut or whatever. That's a little different today, but you dressed properly, and this I learned late afterwards when I was in the Marine Corps. They call it junk on the bunk, where you laid all your uniforms and stuff out on your bunk and went through inspection. I'd been doing that since I was 5 years old. That was another problem. And the thing is, not only myself, but my two younger brothers, my sister, twice a year, we laid our clothes out once before school started, once before Christmas, because that determined what you might need for Christmas. My father would come by. Okay, you need 2 more pairs of socks. Let's get rid of those shorts over there. They've got Irish pennants. And for those of you that don't know what an Irish pennant is, that's where a string was hanging off. That was not allowed in my family. So I never lived more growing up. Either I lived on or never more than 3 miles from a military base. So it was just a part of our family. It was something that was personal. It was something that sometimes was private. It was disturbing in some instances, but that was the life I grew up with. And
so what made you think to start the genealogy research of others that were in the military?
well, this actually, it started, it had a military background. My great-grandfather, the one that I told you was with 1st Virginia Cavalry, he's buried about 6 miles from where I live now. And my grandmother would take us to the cemetery, the grandkids and cousins and stuff. We would all go for Confederate Memorial Day and take flowers and clean graves up. That was the early part of spring. And so it was kind of a cleanup cemetery thing, but as well. And she told us all about the different ones. And of course, the ones that were in the military. And then when I was 16, she gave me the original pay records of my great-grandfather in the 1st Virginia Cavalry. And I was hooked from then on. So carrying on with that just, there were 5 of us in my high school class that joined the Marine Corps in 1966 after we had a year of college and thought we knew what everything in this world was all about. And one was killed in Vietnam. 3 of us had Purple Hearts and 2 others. There's only 2 of us left. And so living with that aspect and understanding that, I mean, it's just a part of your soul. It's not something that you have to learn. It's something that you feel, and I feel for that. I do my best to put any military service information on any profile I come across, especially mine, because I think that's a legacy that served my family and still does, and will serve every person in this country, because you can't get away from the losses and the gains that were made by people who sacrificed their time. As an example, my unit in Vietnam, the 1st Battalion, 7th Marines, had 567 people who didn't come back home. And I went and put every one of those, I built a profile on WikiTree for it. And out of the 567, there were less than 20 profiles that were already there. So I think it's important that it's one thing to have your name on a monument in Washington, like the wall. It's another to have it on WikiTree that says, here's the mother and father of that person. Here's the sisters and brothers. Here's the relatives for it. This is family. And family And honor and courage and commitment are things that I learned at an early age, and I really hope that all Americans would take and remember that it's not all good times, it's not all bad times, but it's a part of our heritage. And so, working, one of the interesting things for me was Civil War. And so, working with the Civil War project, we've done the National Cemetery at Shiloh over at Tennessee and Mississippi border. And you look at all the unknown, the markers where just someone was buried, and all you have is a name, maybe a rank, and maybe their military outfit to start with. That's it, and that's all that's there. So we've put the ones at Andersonville that died in Georgia. We just finished the one on Point Lookout in Maryland. We've done Confederate and Union. It's not death in a national cemetery. It may be recognized which unit you were, but you're all in American soil, and you're all have a common thread. And so I think it's important that if you have that many people who have served and those who have made the ultimate sacrifice for it, I want that on WikiTree. I want somebody to pull up the profile and see that, oh yeah, you're from Evergreen, Alabama. Well, that doesn't tell you much. But you're from Evergreen, Alabama, who enlisted in the Marine Corps at 18, who served 13, 14 months in Vietnam, was wounded, came back, and here lost his life, maybe. And here's the family that goes with that. Because to me, that's what WikiTree is a genealogy site, but to me, WikiTree is a family site.
Yeah. Well, we certainly appreciate your service, and we appreciate the attention that you pay to those who have been killed in action or have served, and veterans still living or not living at this point, sharing and providing the honor that they deserve on their profile. So we appreciate that. One more question, Ron, and I'm going to switch it a little bit because I understand from reading your bio, you also do something else. You raise one of my favorite flowers, the iris.
Oh, yeah.
I love those flowers, and you seem to be a cultivator of those. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I will. That again from my grandmother, and she brought from the Shriners, which is the well-known nursery in Oregon where a lot of the flowers come from. She, in 1947, when I was born, she ordered a flower from there, the Wabash. It has dark blue falls and cream-colored standards and a yellow beard. These are all parts of it. And so she ordered that because it bloomed early and it fit the visits to the cemetery. You could put it out. Well, most iris come out in May. This would bloom in April and would be there for Confederate Memorial Day. And she bought that for me because that was the year I was born, and that was part of her idea to get me interested in doing the cemetery. She called me Ron Tail because I didn't have a bud at all. I was just a little kid, but to go to the cemetery and to tend the flower that she bought for me, and I kept on that actually to the effect that when I started college, I was going to be a forest ranger, and so I took my first year botany classes and all of that's what I was going to be. And then as when we decided we'd go in the war in Vietnam, I left and I came back and I got married, and my wife looked at the salary that forest rangers and people uh, made and said, no, you need to do something better than that. And so I went into computers from there. But so I always had a heart for it. And once I was able to do that, I kept and divided the bulb up, the iris bulb up, the rhizome. Iris duplicates himself two ways. The rhizome splits, or you can also get seeds. Doing seeds from the seed pod, it may take 7 years before you have a plant. So the rhizome is an easy way, and it multiplies quickly. And so I did that, and before I lost my sight, I had about 550 varieties on my 5 acres, and I would actually do the uh, crossbreeding of them, putting plants together so that the effects of one could be shown on the other, like in the falls, the standards and the beards, whether they were the tall or short. It just all the features. You can get a little lace trim around the edge of the petals by doing this. And so the hybridizing, that was something I enjoyed doing. I can't tend that much anymore. I only have about 40 or 50 now, but every year I do still do the division on those down at the end of my driveway. I put a table up and put the rhizomes in pots there, uh, open pots, and people come by and pick them up. It's something I love to do. It was never intended to be uh, something that I make money off of or like that. It's just, again, when you start early and when your family gets you interested in something, it lasts you for a lifetime, and it has lasted me for a lifetime.
Wow. Well,
Uh,
that's awesome. Now,
Yeah.
I'm one, Ron, I love pictures. I didn't see any pictures of irises on your profile. So I'd
no,
appreciate it if you do me a favor and take some pictures of your irises and post them to your profile. That would be
okay,
awesome.
okay. I will get out one of my 10 uh, uh, books that's got pictures and pictures in it. I'll get some in there.
Awesome.
One, one
Awesome.
of my one of my problems is I have to use software that the VA provided for me a good time back, uh, and still helps me maintain. Uh, it's called Zoom Text. Actually, my screen that I'm looking at now, the type on it is 250% of what you would see on a normal screen. My vision is such that it's just one eye and it's like looking through a straw. So one of the issues I have uh, with working on things, WikiTree included, is the graphics. I can, an example would be the little pin that says, that they tell me that's out at the end of, you want to put another source and there's a pin there and you could click on it. Well, when you run your mouse across that with your text reader, it doesn't understand that pin. I didn't put stickers on for a long time because it doesn't read stickers very well. It gets really confused and messes up. And so that's where I started putting what I would put, what Pam or people would give me in the Civil War project here, the stickers. I would put them on, but I started putting down in my biography just 3 equal signs, military and 3 equal signs. And under that, I put what was on the sticker because I could go back and read that, whereas I would lose what's on the sticker. And I had been accused a couple of times of being anti-sticker. No, I'm not anti-sticker. I have some on mine that of the Scottish ancestry, Wales, and of course the Marine. But the other people had me put on there, and that's fine. But the visual aspect of the visual handicap prevents you from using a lot of the things. Another example would be categories. Categories you have, I can read the word categories, and if I can't read it, my program reads it back to me.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go to that pull down window and pull it down, whoop, everything's out. You can't select a category off of that pull down. So I know graphics are a nice part, and I appreciate what was done on the remodel of the profile page and stuff. But basically, you had to relearn everything. And I have a map that lays on my desk that tells me down where it says this, right of that, there's a pin, and if you click on that, you can put your sources in. I can read the word, but I can't see the pin.
Yeah.
Neither can the program.
That's
So,
good feedback. Yeah.
That is, yeah.
Very good feedback. So we'll have to take that back to our tech team and see if there's something out there from a technical perspective that can help with that. Now, because of time, I'm going to have to cut this short, Ron. We love talking to you, and we love hearing all about you. Folks, you can read more about Ron's background as a wonderful WikiTreeer and, of course, the WikiTreeer of the week. But we are going to have to move on. But it's been a pleasure talking to you, Ron.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me on.
Well, it has been a great pleasure. Thanks, Ron. And I'm curious how and maybe off air we can chat a little bit more about this, about how you can use the tree apps, and if there's some things that we can make some of that a little bit easier. Because I certainly know the fan chart, which is is probably I don't know if it's unusable for you or whatnot, but we can talk a bit about that.
That was one of the later things that now come up. I can I love that fan chart. I mean, I'm 100% on 5 generations out, and I'm about 80% on 10 generations out. And the fan chart is great because what I can do is print it out, and when somebody and the family wants something, I give them the printout. So I don't have to go in and pull it up on my computer and find the stuff for them. The fan chart is really one of my favorite new things to do.
Oh, excellent. Well, that's great to hear.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. I wasn't fishing for a compliment, but that's nice.
Oh, it's perfect. We have I've got a standard order from Amazon for frames for them, and I give them to all my kids. I just have a great granddaughter now, 1 year, and another one coming in December, and I've already ordered the frames to put the fan charts in for them to give them a gift.
Awesome.
Excellent.
That's awesome. Yeah.
That's great. Okay. Well, Fibonacci time. Yes, thanks, Murray. It's time for the Connection Checkers Game of the Week, or the Profiles of the Week, also known as. So, unsurprisingly, if unless you've been going la 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 la, not listening at all, the theme for this week is the Deep South. Yes, and so our 12 profiles are all about the Deep South and connections to that. And so we have 12 to go through, but we really only have 11 because Sandy's already talked about the bear, who was one of the profiles. So that's fantastic. So the first one that is listed is someone whose name was not familiar to me at all, Terry Jean Bollea. But if you look at the profile picture here, you probably recognize him by his nom or his acting name. He is, of course, Hulk Hogan, who just passed away just a week and a bit ago.
Yes.
On the 24th of July, at the age of 71. Born on August 11th, 1953 in Augusta, Georgia. Passed away in Florida just last week. Distant cousin of mine, as it turns out. And better known for his ring name, Hulk Hogan, of course, American professional wrestler. His mother was a dance instructor, his father a construction foreman, grew up in Tampa Bay, Florida area, went to Hillsborough College, University of South Florida. He was a bass player, so he's a musician before he was a wrestler. But he became interested in wrestling in high school and then went on to local circuits. He met the infamous Vince McMahon in '79, entered the WWF ring, and won his first title against the Iron Sheik. Continued to wrestle, dabbling in music and acting, and famous for all the things. My father-in-law loved wrestling, which is wild. I mean, he was a tiny Italian man, a hard worker. But when he wanted to unwind, he would watch wrestling matches, which was just the wildest thing.
If I can throw in a little Southernese for it, it's not wrestling, it's wrestling.
Wrestling. Oh, yes. Okay, wrestling. He was wrestling. But anyways, to focus on the genealogy here, I looked at his ancestors chart, and look what's interesting is, okay, so we're talking all about Southern roots, so like we got Maryland and Maryland, Maine, Pennsylvania, New Hampshire. But look, his patrilineal line.
Oh, look at that.
Italy. Bollea is an Italian last name. And we all the way back to Ciliano in Piemonte, Italy. So we've got is back to his great-great-grandparents around the 1840s in Piemonte, and we would easily be able to go at least one more generation back further. So Chris and the Italian Project might want to complete these great-great-grandfathers of Hulk Hogan, because we won't see Italian roots on many of the other profiles of this week. So I just thought I'd throw that out there. And anyways, this is the birth record, in case you're interested in what an Italian record looks like. So this is the birth record of Pietro, this one here, born in 1886. So isn't that kind of cool looking?
Yeah. I love the script.
The script is, and what I like about, this one, some of the clerks did this, or priests, now this was a civil registration, so this would be a clerk, not a priest who filled it out. Some of them used a bigger font, like when they wrote names, they wrote it visibly larger, so they stand out in the middle of the writing, which is
makes
nice.
sense.
And this one is actually relatively legible. That's Giuseppe Bollea. Often they'd write the last name first, so Bollea Giuseppe, born in Quattordici, which is the 14th of the current month, April. And then there's his mother's name, Boggiata Caterina. So Caterina Boggiata was her maiden name. So there we go. So we have a little Italian there with our profiles of the week. And then here we have the Bear Bryant, which we've already seen, and there's the hat that we sort of share. Moving on, Harvey Lavin Clyburn Jr., born in 1934 in Shreveport, Louisiana, passed away at the age of 78 in February 2013 in Fort Worth, Texas. And he is worldwide recognition in 1958 at the age of 23 because he won the inaugural quadrennial, so every 4 years, International Tchaikovsky Piano Competition.
Yes.
He's a piano player. Woohoo!
Ah.
And here's a nice picture of him at his keyboard. There we go, concert pianist. This picture was taken in Amsterdam. It looks like in 1966 it was taken. So there he is there. Started piano lessons at the age of 3. Wow. So that's pretty young. I was a late bloomer then compared to that. His mother was a talented piano teacher, and heard him playing after she had given lessons to someone else. So realized, oh, this guy's got some talent and some interest. So he was 6 years old. They moved to Louisiana. From Louisiana to Texas. His father worked in the oil industry there. He won a competition at age 12 and played with the Houston Symphony Orchestra. That's pretty impressive. Then went over to Moscow, was in Juilliard. He played for royalty, heads of state, and I thought that was cool. He played for every U.S. president from Harry Truman, S. Truman, to Barack Obama.
Wow.
Isn't that
That's
neat?
Yes.
Neat fact.
That is neat, yeah. So anyways, he passed away in 2013 at the age of 78. Yeah. Moving on. Then we have William Cuthbert Faulkner. Born in 1897 in New Albany in Mississippi and passed away in Mississippi as well on the 6th of July, 62 in Bahalia in Marshall County, Mississippi. So William Faulkner, very famous American writer, Nobel Prize laureate, wrote many novels, short stories, plays, essays, screenplays. Primarily known for his novels and short stories set in the fictional county Yaknapatawa.
Appalachian.
Is Appalachian in Mississippi. There we go. One of the most celebrated writers in American literature, generally. Yeah. Oldest of 4 sons to Maud Butler and Murray Faulkner. Grew up in Mississippi with Southern traditions, heavily influenced his writing. Particularly his mother, Maud, his maternal grandmother, Lilia Butler. And also, I thought this interestingly, influenced by Caroline or Callie Barr, who was the Black woman who raised him from infancy. Crucially influenced the development of his artistic imagination. His father enjoyed the outdoors, encouraged sons to hunt, track, and fish, whereas his mother valued education and took pleasure in reading and going to church. Taught her sons to read before sending them to public school, and including Charles Dickens and Grimm's fairy tales. Spent much of his boyhood listening to stories shared by elders. So here's an interesting little thing. In 1918, he was heartbroken because his high school sweetheart had married someone else. So he left the country, headed to Canada, and joined the Royal Canadian Air Force. Isn't that neat? So he is and I actually did a search, and here is the record. He enlisted on the 10th of July, 1918, apparently.
Wow.
Yeah. What I couldn't find was, now on Ancestry, they have 2 different World War I records. One is the attestation papers, so those are basically the enrollment papers. And there's a whole bunch of William Faulkners, and I didn't have a chance to go through this, but I challenged my Canadian Project fellow members to find his enrollment papers. But one of the things it says is that he, where was it here? Somewhere it listed, and I can't remember where I read that he actually lied. This was, I think it was back here about changing his name.
He was a short guy.
Yeah. About adding the U. So his name on his novels and has a U in his name, Faulkner, but his parents or his father's name did not have the U in it. So that U was added somewhere. And one of them suggested it came because it was a mistyping when he applied for the Canadian Royal Air Force, and he added the U because he thought it looked more British. You know how we add U in the word color and all that stuff.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it also said that he talked with a phony British accent. He probably claimed he came from Britain. So, his records may also be a work of fiction.
Here.
So who knows?
If I can add something here, as far as military records, one source that I find that is often overlooked is the National Archives, and they have people that will help you. I mean, I use Fold 3 and all the states' records and stuff, but the National Archives really has a treasure of military records in it, and it's often overlooked because I think people are a little overwhelmed by its size. But the people there will really help you out, and it's just a nice treasure.
Yeah. In Canada as well, the Library and Archives Canada is a wonderful site, and it has lots of great information there. And if you, especially like in, if someone has passed away in war, they have a whole packet. Like you can get, 40, 50 page documents that document all of their history from when they first signed up to all of their missions and all the details. So you can get a nice full picture of a person who no longer doesn't have anything else to has no children left or whatever, who passed away. So that's a neat thing. Moving on. Now, I've got to say, there's so many great profiles this week, and we won't have time to go through all of them. And they're all so well written. And I think part of it, and maybe Sandy can attest to that, is the fact that Appalachians are just great storytellers in general.
Thank you. Yes, we are. But also with our project, we love our notables, and if one's put up there within 24 hours, it's fully decked out.
It's amazing. So I think what I really need to do is basically give you the elevator pitch, the short version of each of these, to encourage you all to go and read all of the profiles, because they're all amazing people who have done amazing things.
That's a great idea.
So let's see if I can do this. Myra Clark Gaines. So American socialite and plaintiff in the longest running lawsuit in the history of the United States legal system at a time when women had no legal standing before U.S. courts. And the first win in this decades-long series of cases was made by her when she was forced to stand in for her absent lawyer or forfeit the case altogether. Basically, she was born in New Orleans. Her father, Daniel Clark, was not actually married to her mother at the time, or at least they didn't think so at the time. And when he died, his estate was disposed under a will made in 1811. Turns out he actually had two daughters, she being one of them, and he in fact had made a will just about 4 weeks before he passed away, leaving everything to her, and she had to fight for the right to inherit all of that. So that was the long case that was talked about. Now, what's interesting about it is that she was awarded, she was awarded and eventually did receive some money, but she could have sued. Well, she could have sued for all this property that people had subsequently built on, and so she rightfully had access to, but it would have turfed out hundreds of families, and she chose not to do that. But she ended up suing the city instead. But anyways, very long, really well, interesting profile and interesting case. So that's her story. Then we have Zora Neale Hurston, born 1891 in Alabama, passed away at the age of 69 in 1960. Folklorist, a cultural anthropologist, an award-winning American author. Her most popular novel, Their Eyes Were Watching God, was published in 1937. She was very famous, had done this great thing, but sadly, by the end of her life, she was no longer popular anymore, and she was penniless and died and buried in an unmarked grave, which is very sad.
Yeah.
But Alice Walker taught her, discovered her writing, or rediscovered her writing, and was a professor and encouraged and used her work in some of her classes. and actually went back and found that unmarked grave and put a marker there.
Oh, that's meaningful.
Yeah, so that's really neat. And the book, Their Eyes Were Watching, was based on work that she had done studying in some Caribbean islands. And I think it says in here which those two islands and and I'm not going to say which they are because I'll probably get them wrong. But anyways, wonderful person, had a great talent which she shared, and then sad ending there, but then rediscovered. So
yes.
Eartha Kitt had a difficult life growing up. Thought she was grew up. So like many of us in the genealogy, well, many people in the genealogy community discover the person who you thought were your parents, not necessarily so. She was raised by someone she thought was her mother. Turned out it wasn't. So she had to deal with that, but went on, overcame that, became an actress and singer.
Batwoman.
What's that?
She was Batwoman.
And she was Batwoman. Yes. A Catwoman. Yes, Catwoman.
Well, Catwoman, Batwoman.
Yeah. Catwoman. So that's great. My kids first got to recognize her because she was the voice of Yzma in The Emperor's New Groove in the animated show. But she had such a distinct voice. Anyways, well done profile and interesting story. Marie Catherine Laveau was a herbalist and midwife, a devout Roman Catholic, but also a renowned Louisiana Creole practitioner of voodoo. And I'm thinking, how do those two go together? But they do, apparently. She was part of the gens de couleur libre, or people of free people of color. That's how that translates. Her first husband was a cabinet maker. She married a few times, or 2 times. Many books and articles are written about her, and there's links to that. And here is her tombstone, or a marker. This Greek revival tomb is reputed burial place of the notorious voodoo queen. A mystic cult, voodooism of African origin, was brought to this city from Santo Domingo and flourished in the 19th century. Marie Laveau was the most widely known of the many practitioners of this cult. Then we have the story of Nell Harper Lee, who is the well-known author of To Kill a Mockingbird.
To Kill, yeah.
To Kill a Mockingbird.
You got there before I did.
Yeah, that's right. Here's a nice one where she got the Presidential Award of Honor from George Bush. And interesting, her next door neighbor when she was Truman Capote. How cool is that?
How about that?
That, 2 amazing authors grew up side by side. That's kind of neat. She was born in 1926 in Monroeville, Monroe. Passed away at the same place in 2016 at the age of 89. So great author. Love that book, that To Kill a Mockingbird classic.
Yes.
Yeah. Frances Marion, born in St. John's Parish in the province of South Carolina in 1732. So that would have been the Southern Project, right?
Southern Colonies.
Southern Colonies Project. Passed away in 1795.
Which would be Southern Pioneers.
Southern Pioneers. Was that before South Carolina became a state?
Well, assuming 1776 and before he became a state, somewhere in there,
So if you look at the profile picture there, guy wearing a hat, you might think he was a military, and in fact he was. Participated in the American Revolution. Puny child, that's interesting. The size of a red cooked lobster at birth.
Wow.
I don't know if that's a compliment or what, but anyways.
That's what I
He
want
wanted
on
to
my
be-
birth certificate, right?
Yeah, that's right. Wanted to be a sailor. But then the whaler that he was on, the schooner, was rammed and sunk, and he survived, but 2 people died at sea while they were trying to be rescued. So after that no more sailing for me. So anyways, he had a military and political career, was actually captured by the British, and then went on to do other things, became a brigadier general. So, very cool. Then we have Walker Percy, born in 1916 in Birmingham, Alabama, passed away at the age of 73 in 1990 in Covington, Louisiana. American writer whose interests included philosophy and semiotics. He is noted for his philosophical novels set in around New Orleans. His first, The Moviegoer, won the National Book Award for fiction. Okay. There's a picture of him there. It's a short little profile. There we go. And then the last one is McKinley Waters, or McKinley Morgansfield, also known as Muddy Waters. Best known as the father of the modern Chicago blues, major inspiration for the rise of the British blues in the 1960s. So this is a really neat profile. But what I love is how he was given his nickname. He was given the nickname Muddy at an early age because he loved to play in the muddy water of nearby Deer Creek.
Makes sense.
Muddy Waters, why not? There we go. He married Maple Berry. Famous guitarist Robert Nighthawk played at the wedding, and the party got so wild the floor fell in.
Wow.
Neat. So Muddy Waters. There you go. And there are your profiles of the week.
That's kind of a good segue because I think next week, if memory serves me right, is musicians. I
think it might be. Yes.
Okay. Well, let's have a look-see at the social media. Maybe that'll tell us. Let's see. So for the week of August 3rd, Elizabeth Neal starts the challenge on the 7th. So that's this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's this Thursday.
Yep.
So we'll be getting the WikiTree challenge for August on Thursday. The question of the week will come out, and again, we don't know what that is yet, right? But you think it's musicians?
I think they were looking for checkers for features.
Oh, for connection checkers to be musicians. Okay. The one name studies is Coyen this week. The one place studies is Kennett, Clackmanshire, SCT. What's SCT?
Is that Scotland?
Is that short form for Scotland? Clackmanshire sounds like it could be. Well, let's just open it up and see. There are links. Why not go there? There we go. It's a small coal mining village in Clackmanshire, Scotland. Yep. There we go.
I did pay attention in class.
You very good. Wednesday morning, we have another episode of Ask Alesh. So Alesh has already made his post in the GGG. So if you have questions about WikiTree Plus or technical things like that, then add them there and we can tackle those on Wednesday morning. So there we go. The Scotland project is highlighted on projects. For Thursday, we'll have a Hollywood Walk of Fame. Do we know who's going to be part of that this week? We don't yet. Okay. We'll find it. We'll meet our members. Will be another one will be posted on Saturday, and we'll be back on Saturday as well. And there you can see the themes. Dressed for the time. This is the photo theme for this. And then we celebrate our ancestors in August. Memories, as Sandy has talked about, is our profile makeover. And then we have also links to the 52 ancestors, and Chris Fariello keeps us up to date with blogs and into the blogosphere. Whew. Is there anything else? Is there anything we've missed?
Got a busy week ahead.
Yes.
It was a busy week. It was quite the party today. Thanks for all of you who stuck with us and stayed with us there. And if you haven't signed up to join the WikiTree Challenge, I think there's still time to do that. So please do so. thanks, Ron, for joining us.
Yes, thank you, Ron.
Congratulations, and thank you for all of your contributions to WikiTree. It's impressive work, and
Well, like
thank you for that.
I say, bless your heart and hush my mouth.
True Southerner.
Oh, that's right. Great to have you with us, Sandy. And yeah, so hopefully we'll see you again soon. And have a great day, everyone. Thanks as well, of course, Denise and Betsy for joining me, and we'll see you all again next week.
Okay.
See you later.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Great weekend.
Bye-bye.
Bye.